conversation. So Reply.io is an outreach automation platform, a more broadly multi-channel AI-powered multi-channel outreach automation platform that's been around for more than 10 years, and we have been kind of adjacent to the investor space in that we empower investors, VCs, private equity, all kinds of investors in their day-to-day activities. And I've been personally working with a lot of investors over the past 5 years, and which is why it was decided that I should host this event. The topic for today's conversation is pretty simple. With AI being kind of commoditized and becoming an everyday occurrence for a lot of spaces. Um, Efficiency has become an edge, competitive mode. The VC funds that automate the boring parts, free up their resources, their people to do things that actually matter, that actually need human intervention, building trust, building relationships, obviously making hard decisions. And that's very close to heart. That's very close to what we do at Reply.io. What we're going to cover today, we'll try to cover, time permitting, is first we're going to talk about tools that are available today for VCs to source deals to find the right investment targets. Then we're going to talk about the dichotomy between manual versus automated. What is possible or permissible to hand over to a machine, to a LLM AI tool, and where that's a bad idea. The third topic is a real life look at what AI powered sourcing setup actually looks like today. And then we're gonna also have a discussion question about again, AI. If every VC, every investor had the same AI stack or more or less the same AI stack, what's left that gives a VC an edge? And time permitting, we're also going to talk about or answer questions and hopefully get one key takeaway from each guest. Again, time permitting. So let me introduce our panel. Helen Kostenko is a COO of V7. V7 builds AI agents that read document-heavy work, pitch decks, financial models, diligence files. So teams, including VC funds, don't have to waste time on tedious tasks. Welcome, Helen.
Hey, hey.
Gerard Taboada, Seguí invests at Vinted Ventures. Vinted Ventures is the venture arm of Vinted, Europe's largest secondhand marketplace. They back re-commerce startups and make just a few careful bets a year. Gerard has also scaled operations inside a unicorn, so he has seen this from both sides, operator and investor. Hi, Gerard. Say hi to everybody.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Of course. And Jan Korous is an investment manager at Tilia Impact Ventures, an early stage impact fund in Central and Eastern Europe. They back founders solving real social and environmental problems with impact you can measure. Jan also spent years doing company valuations at EY, one of the world's biggest advisory firms. So again, welcome everybody. Let's get into it. Our first topic for the day is the sourcing stack. So let's start with you, Helen. Because you're involved in building these tools as part of V7, can you hold on? Let me just pull up the right notes here. Imagine a lean VC fund. Well, it's a handful of people, no operations team, handling, let's say, about 200 inbound opportunities a month. Which single workflow would you hand to an AI agent first or have you already handed to an AI agent? And what breaks if you hand it over to AI too fast and too soon?
Mm-hmm. So, George, to be honest, we have right now such a system in our fund. It's completely our situation. And we are just six of us in our team. So in operation, it's just me. And back like to your question, it would be intake, enrichment, and qualification. And the real bottleneck isn't like deciding. The real bottleneck is getting this 200, for example, messy decks into a format you can actually compare them. And most teams spend an enormous time just for extracting information, knowing what the sector is at, which stage, whether this company fits funds expectations. And AI can do that like in a minute and turn this raw inbound opportunities into structured investment briefs. And we have such an agent, and it validates our opportunities that are coming to us. They give us the general mark, but where I would be a little bit like careful here, letting AI to reject some of the companies. Because the danger isn't like that AI misses bad companies. The danger is that it can't show you these companies because they are not very nice on the paper. But in the end of the day, you see that a lot of projects that are not good on paper, they're really nice for your business. And if you make this automation too aggressively, you have this risk to filter out exactly the kind of opportunities that your business needs. And for me, just like to sum up my speech here, AI removes administrative work, compress this information, gives you a short like brief, but meanwhile, it increases time of speaking to founders. But your decision should be completely your, not AI.
So from what I'm hearing, qualification is a very important part of it,
Yeah,
but disqualification, again, if I understood you correctly, you should not trust AI to do disqualification. You should always go through it manually and make sure you actually talk to those people that are worth talking to, correct?
exactly, correct. Because nowadays we really need human to human. It's like another part of discussion, but still, yeah, administrative work can be replaced, but human to human touch, no. Yeah,
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Gerard. What Helen just described is probably on a slightly different scale based on what we just said in the introduction. You work on a completely different scale. Does the problem even resonate to you? Does it exist in terms of solving scale or volume work at scale with AI, or do you apply AI in some different way?
No, I think there's definitely a lot of parallelisms, and definitely Helen's words resonate very closely with me. At the end of the day, we are not a generalist fund, and we may not receive 200 inbound leads on a monthly basis, but we definitely receive dozens. So when you think about like structuring our work, be more intentional about it. Definitely, like automation plays a huge role into us being more efficient. At the same time, I think also something to bear in mind is that our team, corporate development, we do run the fund, but at the same time, we still look into M&A as, let's say, one of our core remits. We also work on strategy projects. So automation allows us to be much more intentional on how are we going to allocate our time to make the best and the most impact to our organization. And when I think of this specific use case as well, that's exactly how we're using AI right now for inbound, for really qualification of our leads, and really helping us get, let's say, the first 100 meters of the marathon automated and as efficient as possible. But I fully also wholeheartedly agree with Helen. Like, you should not rely on AI to automatically discard deals, especially if you're focusing on more like early stage investments where public information might be limited. And I think it's fairly hard right now for AI to really be able to fully grasp all the nuances in the business and make a good decision. So at least for us in our fund, we definitely do not reject any single opportunity just purely on an automated base. There's always a human touch behind it, and this is, I think, how we believe we should continue to operate moving forward.
Thanks, Gerard. To follow up on this, one thing that we definitely come across every once in a while is the concept of false confidence when using AI. And I think so. You guys already described one thing is to discard opportunities too quickly. I'm wondering if false confidence risk actually exists in that preliminary qualification work for you as well. Or in other words, where have you seen AI workflows introduce false confidence and not just, let's say, discard or disqualify opportunities too early? And is there a tell that a team has over automated things that they shouldn't have? Helen, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have thoughts, but before continue, I saw that Jan raised his hand, and I wanted to
Yeah.
hear his
Oh,
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I raised my hand and then I put it back down because I realized it's but I mean we can touch upon it, but I think what you mentioned about that we cannot really give AI, we shouldn't rely on it for judgment and like value judgment, let's say. I think it's really, really crucial, and especially in the early stage investment because it's not a science. It's more like an art. It's quite subjective. It's about intuition and seeing like these guys, these founders, they're gonna take this company all the way from a very small two-person organization to like a unicorn. And I think that really is. I don't even know if that can be somehow codified by AI. It's really more of an art than science. So I think that yeah, if you would rely on AI for this decision, I think you would really it would be really hard to win. I think so.
Yeah, I completely agree with your thoughts as um, especially on the early stage, you need just to fill the market. You need just to fill this founder who is in front of you. And back to your question, George, is like continuing this topic, is that nowadays AI. The problem isn't that AI is wrong. The problem is that AI is wrong, but it's confidently wrong, and it can create this illusion that this due diligence happened. And what I've seen is the danger isn't like the bad output, is that it's unchallenged output. And your team can rely on this conclusion without thinking, okay, and explaining this logic. They just start pointing to this model and they just agree to this model. And instead of saying, okay, here is this logic why we pass through these opportunities, they just telling, okay, the model scored like this, like low or not low, and we can rely on it. But no. And we need to understand that AI agents, they can accelerate research, they can just summarize this information, surface and highlight some insights, and take some information from public resources about founders. For example, but human judgment still has to challenge the output. And this is like the big question to all topics that are covered right now in all sectors, not just in VC. And we need to think deeply. That's my point.
Thank you, Helen. Let's move on. I'm being told we're slightly off time. Let's move on to uh, the next topic, which, by the way, guys, I have so many windows on my computer. If somebody don't raise your hand, just interrupt us. It's completely fine. We're all kind of in an informal, relaxed conversation here. Next topic is from manual to machine. Let's start with you, Gerard. You have this experience of being on both sides, an operator, an investor. Having scaled ops inside Vinted, before becoming an investor, what's one thing you've learned from running operations that changed how you use automation in deal sourcing, if anything, and something that investors without operating experience would probably miss?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And overall, I think if I would need to sort of dissect what I think makes outstanding operators outstanding, is that they, in a way, have a bit of what I would like to call an ambidextrous mindset. And what I mean by that is that they are obsessed about scale and being able to test, okay, like, is this really going to work over the next scale of the company? Is this still going to help us get the same outcomes once we keep on growing? But at the same time, I think they're laser focused on thinking critically about what is really the problem that we're trying to solve here, and are we really solving the right problem? Because I think right now in these days there's a lot of focus on automation and efficiency and trying to do things fast. But if you're automating the wrong thing, you'll get the wrong outcome just faster, and it's going to be expensive. You're going to use tokens. You're going to use a lot of time and effort, but you will still get to the wrong end goal, or the wrong outcome. So I think what I would say our team does particularly well is combining those two and being this ambidextrous when it comes to thinking of automation, and not only thinking of what looks shiny and cool and what we can just do for vanity, but what is really actually going to move the needle. So we look at scale, but again, we're looking at how we take a step back. Are we really solving for the right thing? So I think that having this sort of mindset really ingrained in our operating system as a fund, but also as a corporate development function, that I really think that makes a difference. And yeah, I would say at the end of the day, when you look at, especially like for deal sourcing, that is critical, because if I refer also, like, at the beginning when we were testing some of the things, you can create a lot of automation. You can get 300, 400, 500 leads per month, but how polished, how refined, how relevant are those? It's sometimes less about quantity. It's really all about quality and how much of it you can really take on and really end up having a good IRR. So I think that, again, just having this dichotomy, this critical thinking, this ambidextrous mindset is probably the best lesson that we took from being an operator and taking that on how we run our fund.
I love it. I'm going to use your quote, if you don't mind, in my conversations with the partners. I've loved
Yes.
the phrase, you're gonna automate wrong things faster. That's brilliant. Jan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to ask Gerard, like, because if you're operators, you're also quite often leaning into, like, if you're, let's say, your co-founders or your like core team, and you kind of, have different, you kind of, get the diversity of opinion and this like creative friction to kind of move the company ahead. So like within Vinted, are you building, the AI stack yourself? Or like how do you kind of operate, and like, like you guys are primarily investors, but also building this AI stack. So like how do you kind of do this internally? Is it one man's job, or is it like the whole team involved in the process?
I would say it's a bit of a mix. So I think all of us, just by nature, are quite intellectually curious people. We really like to see what's out there, what are the newest models, how they interact. So I think everybody in the team is definitely welcome to bring in like new solutions. So if I think of, let's say, our current stack, everything we build it ourselves. And at the same time, I mean, I also need to give big hats off to a group of students from the SMT management school in Germany. We had actually a group of MBA students doing their final project with us a few months ago. And they precisely did that. They built, let's say, a deal sourcing automation using Claude, ChatGPT, and other models. And then we took it from there, and basically now we're working on implementing that. So I would say it was a mix of us in the team, a bit of work also from those students that they did a brilliant job. So but for now I would say we rely mostly on our internal capabilities, and that's so far worked, I think, fairly well for us.
Thanks, Gerard. The follow-up question is kind of digging a little bit deeper into what you just said. When you're actually evaluating a startup and their maturity, operational maturity, you're reading signals, team velocity, process, discipline, how they use their own tools. How much of that signal reading do you delegate to a machine, to AI? And where, again, it can give you a false positive or a false conviction, false confidence that you personally would have caught.
Yeah, and I think here I would sort of go back to Helen's quote here, or like her point of view. I think like the human touch matters more than ever. I think that if you now can afford to automate stuff, you should devote that time to spending more time with potential founders and really see by yourself. I think that AI and technology itself can only grasp as much, but I think there's no replacement for just being in the room with the founders, seeing how they react, being challenged, how they sell their story, how they walk you through it. There's some nuance, and again, going back to also what Jan was saying, like it's a bit of an art. It's not really, I would say, like a science of zeros and ones. There's more to that. So I think that human touch is really critical. And I think, again, this is why critical thinking matters more than ever, because if you rely solely on models, assumptions that AI is making, you're falling behind, and there's only as much as I think still AI can do. And in terms of false positive, for example, I'm thinking of a case of a company. It was a fairly young startup. I think they've been operating for roughly a year, and they share with us some data. Cohorts, financial projections, GMV, you name it, like all the typical data that you would expect from a marketplace. And if, I always like to do one thing. I like to let AI run a pass. I always run two different models at the same time as well. I like to compare one to each other, and I like to still take a look at myself. And while both the models were sort of agreeing, like, oh, the upside looks great, like all the numbers look on the right chord. When I was looking at it, I started to see some strange patterns when it came to the data that it made me believe that maybe some parts may have been either fabricated or altered to a certain degree. So actually, when we went back to the founder, we were like, hey, I spotted these 2, 3, 4 inconsistencies. Would you mind just getting to the bottom of it and what is driving this and that? Then actually we uncovered that they just launched their new ERP. So it's fairly normal, young startup. So especially when it comes to BI tools and ERP, there's always room for improvement. But these were, for example, some nuances that made that some of the figures were actually not necessarily 100% accurate, but they really didn't catch that. It really took a bit of, I don't know, sixth sense or some sort of additional interpretation that somehow at least those models didn't catch. And I'm sure that this is something that happens on a daily basis with other operators, funders, VCs, PE firms. So again, I think that AI is a partner, it's not a replacement.
I think, George, you're muted.
I apologize. Sorry, guys. I was saying in a few years it's going to be a battle of my AI is smarter than your AI because to me it sounds like those founders simply uh, fell into the same trap of allowing AI to make those assumptions for you, and you just kind of intuitively caught them, Gerard, based on your experience. But again, with Claude version, I don't know, 8.0 in a few years from now, it's going to be find these fabrications or find these assumptions for me, and it's going to be a battle between two LLM models on both sides. It feels like I don't know, maybe I'm just
You may be right.
assuming. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Let's move on to our next topic, AI sourcing and intelligence stack. Live walkthrough. Jan, I'm told you have something to share with us. The question is, can you walk us through what an AI-enabled sourcing and intelligence stack looks like for you in practice? Where a trigger lives, what does the tool do or tools, and what does the investor see at the end?
Can you just let me know if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So up front, I'm gonna apologize for this presentation. It's just like very, very last minute. Also, like I would like to be like very honest. This is still extremely work in progress. This is just something that at Tilia we are kind of pulling together as we speak. We're doing our job as investors and at the same time trying to build our own AI stack internally. So it's definitely not perfect, and but I think it's still interesting to show it with you and hear your opinions. If you have any questions, would love to hear them or any like suggestions for improvement. But I just want to kind of like guide you through our stack as we have it right now, and also maybe through some of the challenges that we kind of encounter as we build it. And yeah, so I hope I can move my screen. Yes, perfect. So I would like to introduce you to Pip, and Pip is our agentic analyst at Tilia. So he basically screens, he evaluates, and he provides additional intelligence to his real world colleagues like myself and the rest of the team. We are building Pip basically as a product in a two-man slash three-man team. In one of my colleagues, he is an ex CTO of a startup that he exited to Avast, now Gen. So he's acting as the CTO of the product, and I'm basically kind of, let's say, the product manager, and I'm giving some inputs, what could be improved, what are the future features that we can be introducing, and also what are things that are not working so great. Um, so where Pip lives. So Pip is integrated into our CRM, which is in Airtable. He's also scraping data and company signals from a database called Spectre, which is widely used by a lot of different VCs. He is interfacing with us through Signal, so I can ask Pip questions. He will answer to me. I can, shoot him a pitch deck. He will read it. He will let me know his opinion. And the last kind of main like integration for us is the reasoning layer, which is kind of currently running on Gemini. But as we were just hinting at right now, like this area is developing so quickly that he might be living somewhere else in the next few months, depending on, things like how good the models are, what is the cost, what are the other advantages. Like for Google, it's great that it's basically integrated into other things like Gmail or our Drive. So these are basically like the main four things where Pip is currently living in. And Pip has three key features at this moment. So he is helping us with sourcing. So he's basically scraping databases, newsletters, even podcasts, and he's triaging them versus our defined investment strategy. And he is surfacing those relevant deals which or companies which he personally finds interesting. So like maybe coming back to Helen's point about some companies not being surfaced by the AI because they don't consider them interesting, even though they are. This definitely is like one of the potential risks and things that we're calibrating, that basically the AI is rather more forgiving and it's letting us see more deals than less because we're kind of afraid of this like false negative by the AI. The second thing that the PIP does is evaluation. So typically within Tilia, we have three different stages of investment process. The first is just the general like a first screening call. We have the thing we call the partner call, which is basically a meeting with the founders and all of our partners, where we prepare like a two-page memo before the meeting. So it's like like a medium level of information, which PIP helps to draft. And the last one is the investment proposal, which is like a 10 to 15 page document, very detailed. And here also PIP plays a role. And I just inputted here a very short, basically one of the prompts that goes into PIP. And we've been like iterating this many, many times. We're trying to get rid of like exactly like this overconfident tone or like kind of the sycophantic behavior of the LLMs. It's always work in progress, but we're always trying to use AI to be kind of like a diverse opinion. So we tell it, present a counter thesis. Why do you think this company is going to fail? Or we also ask it to completely skip any kind of like adjectives which would give you a certain feeling, even though it might not be necessary. So this has helped quite a lot. And actually, I think the quality of this output is getting quite high. And since I started working in VC about 5 years ago before ChatGPT, I have also kind of a benchmark of what it did for my productivity. So in 2021, it took me about 7 days to write an investment proposal. And now with AI and of course some experience of how to do it, I think the record is like 4 hours, to put together this 10 to 15 page document. And I would say that this document is like on a way higher quality than it was 5 years ago. So this is like an absolutely insane efficiency improvement. And yeah, then the last thing about where we use Pip is basically knowledge. So he's living within Signal, and we just use it basically for any kind of like intelligence gathering that a typical junior analyst would do. So for instance, one use case would be, hey, I'm meeting a guy from a venture capital fund XYZ, and he's investing into seed. He's a generalist from CE. What are some interesting deals to refer from our pipeline? And then Pip would go into our pipeline and he would surface those relevant deals for me. So this is kind of the last way we are currently using Pip for. George, how much time do I still have? I don't want to be like monologuing for too long.
You're good. I'm personally very curious to hear this process.
Okay, cool. So like some implications or like some more like let's say theoretical thinking around it. So it's still a work in progress, but overall our ambition is to like completely replace a junior VC analyst like one to one. Like in work in progress, as you can see on the left, sometimes I ask Pip some like very basic question and he basically tells me to F off, that he doesn't want to do it anymore. That happens once in a while, that basically Pip gets broken. And yeah, we're kind of working on iterating it and making more reliable and stable. And on the right hand side, is just an example that I borrowed from Flashpoint VC, which is just an example of how far you can take it, which is this is their automated AI engine for sourcing and then also selecting. They're primarily Flashpoint is primarily a Series A investor, so they have way more data points than in the early stage. But they took it, and this is already from like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, they took it to a level where if you're a VC investor, the only thing you basically have to do is show up for a meeting because the AI system will find a startup, he will pre-book a call, and he will also take notes during the call. He will score it afterwards. He will export the KPIs, and he will tell you kind of maybe the next question that you have to focus on. So I think the opportunities are boundless, and especially as George, you were mentioning, the technology is developing so quickly that like it's hard to imagine how much of everything could be automated within the VC tech stack. And I also wanted to say, like, we are already seeing some interesting implications of introducing the AI tech stack within Tilia. So for me personally, it is that all of a sudden our CRM is flooded with new deals, and we have to figure out how do we build like a process around AI, bringing this completely new wave of deals and basically leads to go through. And yeah, it can kind of create some frictions or problems. So just kind of to close it off, I had a few points that I wanted to share with you that kind of came up to me as I was going through these slides. The first one we already kind of discussed. Are we as humans losing our ability to think and create because the output from AI is just so believable and so easy to do? And if you want to write an email, it's so easy to just ask AI to do it for you. But I really believe that venture capital is a game of outliers and of having strong opinion and conviction in certain areas. And it's like absolutely essential for VCs to kind of make sure that they have like clear spaces where AI is a huge partner and tool, and spaces which needs to be reserved for humans, because otherwise I think you're going to start playing a losing game. The second point is that because we have AI, it introduces more productivity, like bigger throughput, and it means that everyone kind of has to, like everyone is all of a sudden doing 5 times the work as before, and sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up. And also it means that like everyone in the team has to know how to work with AI. If all of a sudden there's a agentic analyst, everyone on our team who's a human needs to understand what the agentic analyst does, how is he structured, what's he maybe not so good at, and how does it change the humans day to day. And I think also extremely relevant question is like, does it make sense to actually build it in-house or just rather buy it from someone who is like developing these new tools and he's like really focused and his core job is like creating these tools? I think that's a very, very fair question. And like last 2 points are like technology obsolescence and then cost. Like I think what we might build a great stack for today, but in 6 months, we might get such great, models that the whole tech stack all of a sudden becomes obsolete. Or the second potential issue is you might build a great tech stack, but then some of the models or tools that you're relying on will just get way more expensive, and then all of a sudden you cannot afford your AI tech stack, and you might be forced to switch back to humans because they're cheaper. So yeah, some interesting things to figure out. And I think I'm just going to leave it there. But in any case, if anyone wants to talk about this or have any questions or suggestions how to improve it, please reach out. I'll be happy to hear your thoughts. So thank you.
George, if you don't mind, can I
Yes,
ask a question?
of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do believe that you guys know about harmonic AI. Yeah, and as we are talking about like AI sourcing, so where is this difference between harmonic AI and your paper technology inside your like VC? Maybe you can give me some tips where you are better, and just to have this difference.
Yeah, I think the difference is probably going to be price. So we're just kind of running this super low cost in a way that it solves the issues that we need, and we have also the flexibility. So I mean, if we had like a $300 million, dollar fund in the US, I think it would make sense in terms of focus to kind of outsource it and buy a tool from them. But we don't have that budget, so we are trying to kind of just like hustle it on the side, and it seems to be doing, like a pretty good job at what we needed to do so far. So that's where we stand.
But did you try the demo? Did you try just like trial period or no?
I think we tried it a while back, yeah. But yeah, hard to compare at this moment.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. 1 second. I do have a question. I'll probably reserve it for the end of today's event if we have time. Let's probably move on. The debate, so the interesting part. Does AI commoditize intelligence? So we have just discussed that this is so today the VC game looks like a combination of a bit of statistical or analytical work at the top of the funnel and then art by the human to actually identify whether there's a fit, whether there's actually substance in a deal that you're sourcing. So but when it comes to using those AI tools where it's applicable, if every fund has access to a similar stack, which everybody will sooner or later, probably sooner, what is the actual remaining edge for a VC? What's their competitive moat? Um, is the job of a partner changing permanently, or is it simply going to be a matter of better tools means better deal sourcing? Let's see who I have here for the suggestion to start. Jan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Maybe I'll ask Helen or Gerard if they have some questions because I feel like I was monologuing for a while, so
Yeah.
you guys can kick it off.
Please. Gonna go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, I can tell my opinion generally. So most of the time we are having this similar access to the data, yeah. But and 10 years ago, as Jan mentioned, even 5 years ago, we didn't have such privilege to have this access to information, and it was like an advantage. And today it's increasingly available to everyone. So I think here is one layer, and here's you can have a nice relationship. You can have really nice, I don't know, partners or some datas, but it's the question of decision-making quality, how quickly you are making it, and what the tool you are using to make this decision. And I suppose the speed will decide everything. Even not having nice relationship, even not having high qualified tools in your team, but the speed of the decision is everything. And the advantage will be to know how to make this decision in a correct and proper way.
Yeah,
Thanks, Helen.
if I may chip in here as well. I think there's at least 3 angles that I think are really, really relevant. I think, Helen, you just touched upon one. I think speed of decision making is critical. Things are moving faster than ever. Technology is moving faster than ever. It's being disrupting itself at an unprecedented pace. So I think that being able to, get an insort, like a deal, being able to make a decision fast is critical. I think there's also another, at least 2 elements that really popped in my mind, right? I think one is precisely what you were saying, George. If all VCs have the same stack, have the same intelligence, have the same starting point, what differentiates you as a VC when it comes to, in the eyes of the company, and especially for companies that are going to be highly coveted, that are going to have a lot of attention, they're going to be the hottest ones. What is really going to make you different? And this is where I think it's also really important about what do you provide to those companies aside from capital. So if I think, for example, for Vinted, right? If you are a marketplace, you're building a marketplace, there's probably a very good chance that we have faced similar challenges that you have been facing. We know our game pretty well, not only in terms of marketplaces, but also in terms of logistics, now also payments, which is the third business line that we are working on. So I think that really bring that extra edge, that extra knowledge, I think is really important. And when it comes to also making or like leading it to the speed of decision making, having your own internal benchmarks really allow you to make those decisions faster. Because yes, I think like the tip of the iceberg is going to be ready available for everybody, but there's always going to be like unique insights that are going to be a bit much more sought after and not that readily accessible. So that I would say is the second angle or the second edge. And yeah, I think that so it's the speed of decision making for sure is what you can bring as a fund, and then yeah, actually I forgot what was the third. I forgot the third angle, so it will pop up later. Yeah.
Maybe I can just jump back. So I think like in a nutshell, like if you're a VC, your job is to like source the really good startups, select the right ones, then actually win the deals. So I think this is something that Helen and Gerard were also talking about, that you have to be really quick, you have to have a USP. And I think the last point that you have to do is like kind of support the founders. And I feel like with AI, it's kind of everyone's kind of using AI now to source and kind of evaluate. So I feel like there's like this famous Warren Buffett quote which he says like if each person standing on tiptoes at a parade is trying to see better, once everyone does it, no one sees better, but everyone is kind of worse off because their calves are hurting. So I feel like we're kind of getting to that situation in some aspects, and we're seeing this kind of leveling of playing field. And I think we're going to see more shift of VCs trying to focus on winning the deals and really providing the value add. And I think this is going to benefit probably the large brands in the US because they have this brand element which helps them win deals, or VCs that have like a really specialized approach and have like this value add, like Vinted, for instance, with this like very specific focus. So yeah, I think we're going to see these kind of like bifurcation into two areas.
Yeah. And if I may just like quickly, I remember like what was the third point that I mentioned. And I think also when it comes to like really highly coveted deals, at least if I look at my experience like for the past year, I feel like the most relevant opportunities that reached us didn't come from AI, didn't come from automation, didn't come from having, let's say, an email on our website. It came from relationships. It came from attending the right events, speaking at the right panels, and again, using some of that efficiency gain that you have from automation to really build relationships with the ecosystem. So I think that again is going to be much more important than ever before, because that's where the really key deals are going to be sourced from.
So,
Yeah, just to
go
add
ahead.
one point to Gerard is I just remember that we have accelerators, and accelerators, it's really nice source where you can have lots of deals on the early stage level, and it's about relationship, but also it's about founder's background. Nice projects that are going to having cash flow and profit and net. It's like they are not going to accelerators. They are building on their own. And where AI is really efficient, when, for example, these founders, they meet the exit, and after that, what's on their mind. They are sitting and starting to produce something in their head, like a new product, right? And in this stage, you need to be ready to catch them, and and AI can help you to find such founders who made this exit. Now, just give them several months to have a rest, blah blah blah, and after that, you can catch them on like a really warm inbound. I don't know. So this is my point also.
Love it. AI powered deal hunting, essentially.
Exactly.
What I found interesting is so basically Gerard says that in the age of AI, the last one was in the age of AI, your competitive moat does not have anything to do with AI. It's your positioning, it's your reputation, it's how you build your reputation and all of those events and uh, uh, basically everything you build about yourself that creates that impression on startups, which I find interesting because lately everything kind of comes down to which model to use, which tool to use, which is very important. We are a tool. You should use our tool for lead sourcing and automation, but I think that's a very important point. Human reputation basically is still the biggest moat there can be. If I understood your point correctly, Gerard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the playing field is just being leveled more and more for everybody. So again, you need to really exploit your edges.
Sounds good. One last question on in this block, and then we'll move on to the Q&A section. Uh, the future, the outlook. This is usually the at the end of these events, so we're talking about the future. I have a question for Jan. Looking 3 years ahead, could a five-person AI native fund running a stack like what you're building with Pip, for example, outperform a 500 million traditional fund on early stage returns? What would need to be true for that to happen?
I don't know if Pip is the savior for the small lean team. Maybe in the future we'll see. But I think
Think bigger.
it's yeah, exactly. I'll tell my colleague to step up his game with coding. But I think the question is a bit complicated because I think in general these very large funds they kind of suffer from how big not suffer, but it's more difficult for them because they're so big that any investment they make has to be like insane moonshot to kind of justify the portfolio economics. So I think in general it's maybe from portfolio strategy perspective maybe better to go for a bit smaller funds because they're easier to return. So that's one thing. But from like a technology point of view, I think the five-person AI native team could in future definitely play or have the same productivity or like potential as a huge VC fund because these things are just developing so quickly, and if you can tap into it in the right ways, your efficiency can be really great. If you can still keep that like human edge that we've been kind of talking about. And like last point on that, I guess it's developing so quickly that this answer might be completely outdated in like half a year, you know. So it's hard to say. Hard question. What do you
Uh,
guys think, Helen and Gerard?
yeah.
Well, I suppose that it's kind of possible, not just because AI makes people smarter, but because nowadays it helps us to combine different roles in one person. So you can be operator, but meanwhile you can be analytical, right? And just calculate some unit economies and so on. But generally, it's like dramatically increases leverage, and a small team nowadays can operate with the research capacity that previously required like really large team. And in the future, even right now, we are observing lots of funds that are having less people than it was like before. I don't know about the history of Sequoia, how many people they had in their past and how many people they are having right now. But generally speaking, all of us, we wanna what? We wanna just to decrease the cost, the like ops cost, yeah, and it will be everywhere, in all fields, in all areas. Uh, but here's the the limiting factor will stay and will be humans' decision and deep understanding on what you're doing. And you can automate everything except of healthy understanding and analyzing what's going on and where and how market can be shifted, what's the background of founders, like a lot of aspects, a lot of like things that can have impact. So it can be possibly yes, but still we have a lot of but.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I think like my opinion, right, is I don't see why this would not be plausible. I think we've seen cases of funds really leveraging AI to grow at a staggering pace. There's now this quite famous case, right, of situational awareness LP from Leopold Aschenbrenner. And there are going to be more of those, right? At the end of the day, like there's also like this sort of like paradox of like, are we going to see anytime soon the first one person unicorn? There's a lot of buzz also I think around it. But yeah, at the end of the day, look, if somebody really is able to extract a massive edge through AI or is able to build something that pushes to a new horizon that we haven't seen before, yeah, definitely think could potentially happen. But at the same time, as both Jan and Helen said, like there are a lot of caveats and nuances to it. So yeah, to be honest, I think it's plausible, but it can go either way. I think it's hard these days with AI to really make bold predictions and say, oh, it's gonna be A or B. We really don't know, but definitely plausible.
Thanks, guys. Let's wrap this section up with sort of like let's say uh, your one source of truth, your prediction, your one takeaway in 2026 in the context of what we have been talking about, which is where AI works, where it doesn't. Your single biggest takeaway for 2026, where should deal sourcing community where should deal sourcing community approach things with AI versus not? And what's their thinking behind it should be considering all the limitations and everything we have been talking about today. Let's start with Helen.
Yeah, let's start with me. So just to sum up this big discussion, I suppose that AI can replace administrate work as we have already discussed and make all processes quicker and much more efficient. But if we are talking about human decision making, it's done. So we are living here in our positions just to be enough intelligent to make this decision on our own. Yeah, sure, based on the data that we already have. That's my conclusion.
Thanks, Helen. Jan?
I think my conclusion is that basically all, everyone in the sourcing community, as you said, should kind of work with the scenario that in the future this trend of commoditization of intelligence is going to continue, and it's going to become even more agentic, and it's going to seep into different tools and maybe even into just like physical world. And you should build with this in mind, that this is just going to keep on improving, and try to kind of foresee the implications of that and what that means for the way you approach sourcing.
Yeah, and I think for me, my takeaway would be start small, start incremental, and be very purpose driven in the sense of that you will get some gains, efficiency gains. How are you going to use those gains? Where are you really going to place that additional output that you have? Where are you going to use those resources to really get an advantage? And I think that should come from the very beginning. It should be the starting point of all your automation process logic, rather than starting from tools and models. And I think if you have a clear goal in mind of we're going to get some advantage, we're going to get some savings, this is where we're going to use those savings, and this is how this is going to make our fund better, and you bring it all together from a systemic thinking perspective, this is where I think you have a much more solid starting point, much more inspirational and purpose driven, rather than being tool or technology first.
Thanks, Gerard. Allow that. Being purpose-driven first. That kind of concludes our, scripted part of the conversation. I wanted to quickly jump to questions while we still have some time. One question we have in the chat is something we've already brought up briefly. Jan and Helen talked about building your own pip or buying things. So from the perspective of, and we all understand the benefits of both, which is buy means speed, build means depth, and maybe this competitive edge that your custom tool would be able to give you that no pre-built tool is capable of giving you. What's your stance on again this dichotomy? Which one are you guys leaning towards, and in which parts of the deal sourcing pipeline? Let's see. Let's start with Jan.
Yeah, I think the buying part is really if you're a bigger fund, I would definitely consider that, because I think the tools are really great and developing quite rapidly. For smaller funds, maybe sometimes it's not even an option to buy some of these very sophisticated tools that other VCs are using. So I mean that's one consideration. But I also think that doing it in-house can be quite fast nowadays. Doesn't have to take a lot of time, and it can perform quite well. So maybe like linking it back to Gerard's point, like if you know what you're trying to achieve, you don't really need like a rocket ship to do it. You just need it can even not be, it doesn't have to be an AI. It can just be an automation, quick, like a smart integration between your Gmail and Airtable, and it can work quite well. So I think that's the way we think about it. Like, what is the like way or path that is the most optimal to achieve what we're trying to achieve? Like the path with the least resistance, and how can we get there as quick as possible? And that's why we're kind of choosing the build strategy at this moment.
Thanks, Jan. Helen, are you team buy or team build?
No, we just built, so we are using Cloud Code, for everything, and it's kind of really easy right now to build whatever you want, to optimize all processes, and it's like the question of budget also, and AI right now is given to us just paying for tokens and building whatever you want. Sure, things that if you wanted to build something really enormous, something, so you need to have your engineering team inside like venture, but I don't think that you need this, especially for really small funds. For big funds, you can use already ready these tools and use them. But to be honest, if you're quite intelligent, you can do whatever you can build, whatever you can. So it's not like a problem. And I suppose that outsource company, they are dying right now.
Interesting. Gerard, because you did highlight this as the first kind of moat that you talked about, speed to decision making, which to me reads, get the right tools faster. Do you agree that buying is better than building in this regard?
I mean, if you're solely focused on speed of decision making, then I think it builds a strong point for that, in favor of that thesis. For our fund in particular, we also went build first, and I think, as I said, like start incremental or start small, start incremental, very very focused on what is the actual problem you're trying to solve. And I think that these days you can go fairly far with building in house. I guess it depends on like maybe like level of sophistication, volumes, etc. But I think that right now, at least for our particular use case, I think it's working fairly well, and we are all fairly satisfied as well with what we're building. And unfortunately, this webinar is happening today because tomorrow one of my team members is going to present our new Claude tool as well. So I'm really excited to see what he's been building and how he may help us get to the next level already. So
Yeah. Maybe just one more point to like the argument for buying probably would be like resonating more if you're building something that's very like specialized. I think if you're maybe if you're doing like a biotech investments, I can imagine that an AI sourcing or like AI platform or something like that would make a lot of sense because then you can really bring that specialized biotech expertise, understanding the patent quality, understanding people in the network. And uh, once you get into this like more vertical type of solution, I can imagine that yeah, then I can see the value, the reasoning for buying in that case maybe a bit stronger.
Thanks, Jan. Thanks, everybody. I think, yeah, I have one more question. I think we're going to be wrapping up, but it kind of stems from the first question here, which is it turns out that all three of you are in favor of build first, which is interesting. So no fights here. But when it comes to building first, this comes from when Jan was showing Pip and how they're building Pip in the process. So maybe too nerdy of a question. How do you approach versioning? How do you approach improving it over time? And generally, a question to everybody when building your own AI-powered tools. We have two Claude people, one Gemini. I'll say impartial, although I have my opinions. But when you're building something of your own, how do you approach making sure that it doesn't stay stale? Because you can fall into the trap of, again, believing these kind of overconfident assumptions that are based on nothing. How do you build self-improvement into the process? Jan, have you thought about it in the process of building PIP?
Yeah, we are actively thinking about it. It's a question we are discussing all the time, how we can build some kind of recursive, self-improvement, or I mean that's probably not going to build it ourselves, but basically just at least some very simple way of improving the knowledge and how the knowledge that we build up within our fund, how that gets translated into PIP and how PIP then uses it to improve its own decision making. It's something that we are like currently it's on the roadmap, but we don't have a perfect answer for. And yeah, definitely, yeah, great question. I mean, we're thinking about it a lot recently.
Helen, in the tools that you have had experience with, is there any self-learning involved? And again, for the sake of not falling into the trap of staying stale, which I think is on everybody's mind with how quickly these models are evolving.
Sure. So, um, you are feeding your AI with historical data, right? And you are completing it. For example, if Jan's CRM is Airtable, our CRM is not like Notion, and you are adding like almost every day lots of information. It starts to study you more and more and more, your patterns, your like choices. And I suppose that the best answer here is to complete all data in the right way, because AI can read exactly what you're writing in, saying, and so on. And if your information and data they are enough clean, in this case, you can improve in the future, and don't be in this trap, of thinking if it already improved or no. So you see the difference even between making presentation, right? As a CEO, I'm making almost the whole every month presentation about our portfolio companies to my investors and so on. And you see how it's structured, right, based on what data. And only in this way you can feel this difference. Your data should be enough clean.
Got it. So, in your opinion, the continuous feeding of day-to-day artifacts should serve as that self-educating or self-learning mechanism. Gerard, do you have any thoughts on self-improvement or continuous improvement of AI-based tools for VCs?
I mean, for sure, on a quarterly basis, we always have a retrospective. We look into not only the deals we've been working on, but also the processes, and we strive for ongoing identifying what can we do to be more efficient. So I think that this falls into that sort of already cadence that we have. But yeah, I would say it's a bit premature right now to really give you a more detailed answer, because again, I think if I look at our tools, they're quite recent or new. So it might be that as we progress along the way and models evolve, or maybe new models that we even haven't heard about emerge, that raises a need to completely restructure how we think about our current AI stack. So I think, yeah, if you ask me in 3 or 6 months, hopefully I'll have a better answer for you. But for now, I think we treat it a bit as part of standard review process.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, a nerdy question. It's last thing I'll mention is it's pretty relevant to us as a software tool that does automation for VCs and other types of investors, and that's why it's so relevant for us. To give you an example, when you're reaching out to those acquisition targets through AI, through a hyper personalization that's baked into each and every message. You don't want the same mistakes to repeat over and over again. So in those emails, in those LinkedIn messages, you want the AI model to learn what you star or highlight or approve versus what you don't like. And likewise, when you start getting let's say signals from the other side, how people react. Do they hate your emails or do they respond positively? You want to use that as a learning point in order to feed it into the next version. So again, yeah, this is very relevant, and we are, I would say, by definition, team buy, because we are the self-learning system for outreach automation that lives together with the rest of your deal sourcing stack. That was my whole pitch for the meeting, I promise. Yeah, I think we're at time. I think I really enjoyed this conversation. I would like to thank again everyone for joining, Helen, Jan, and Gerard. This has been great. If you want to share, guys, your information, where people should find you, if they want to contact you for a virtual or non-virtual coffee, where should people find you?
On LinkedIn.
Okay, LinkedIn. Everybody, LinkedIn?
Yes.
Sounds good. Sounds good. That's the business folks. Usually we get a whole mix of, Telegram, Instagram, everything.
No,
Anyways,
we separate everything. Work is work.
yeah, that's true. Okay, again, a pleasure talking to all of you. Thanks for insightful conversation, and thanks everybody for joining, and enjoy the rest of your days.
Send your
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for
moderator.
having us.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.